The cathedral looms like a stone giant, its spires clawing at the gray sky. Inside, the air is thick, heavy with the scent of melting beeswax, damp stone walls, and the press of bodies packed into the pews. It clings to your skin like a second weight, piling onto the rough wool of your wedding dress, which scratches at your neck and arms. You're 12 years old, standing small and still at the altar, your bare feet numb against the cold flagstones. You've never owned a pair of shoes, and for a fleeting moment, you wonder if a lady of a great house is supposed to have them. It's a childish thought, quick as a spark, snuffed out by the towering figure of the man beside you. His name is Lord Valerius, your husband. You've known his name for a week, his face for less than an hour. At 40, he's carved from the same hard stone as his fortress keep. Gray-black beard like wire, eyes etched with lines from years of squinting into the sun or sizing up men and land. His glance at you isn't warm or curious. It's the sharp, calculating look of a rancher checking a new calf, weighing its worth. He paid your father a steep price, 3 fertile fields and a dozen head of cattle. You can still see your father's face as he pocketed the Lord's coin, his eyes cold and final, like he'd just sold a horse. You're not his to feed anymore. You belong to someone else now. The pews are crammed with faces, lords in fine furs, kin in stiff linens, villagers in patched wool. Their whispers buzz like flies in a summer field, their eyes glinting with something more than faith. They're not just here for the priest's holy words. They're waiting for the ritual's end, for the public moment that seals the bond, proving you're no longer a girl, but a wife. Your stomach twists, a knot of ice that has nothing to do with the chilly air. This isn't the fairy tale you heard as a kid, of knights in shining armor or poets singing of love. Those were stories to keep you quiet. This is marriage in a world lit only by fire, a contract, a deal, not a dream. For centuries, this was the machine that kept the world turning. Girls traded like coins for land, power, or peace. The priest's voice rose over you, a low drone of Latin you don't understand, but feel like chains tightening around your chest. You're told to repeat a vow, and your voice comes out thin, shaky, the words like gravel in your mouth. Lord Valerius booms his response, loud and sure, a man who's never heard the word no. His certainty makes your fear feel small, like it doesn't matter. He slides a heavy gold ring onto your finger, not a delicate thing, but a solid band, a mark of ownership that bites into your skin. The crowd murmurs, a low hum of approval. The priest raises his hands, his robes sweeping like dark wings, and it's done. You're his. The cathedral walls seem to close in, the air colder, heavier, the candlelight flickering like it's mocking you. Outside, the world goes on. Farmers drive oxen to the fields, bakers pull bread from their ovens. But for you, everything's changed. You glance at the crowd again, their faces a blur of expectation. Your hands tremble in the folds of your dress, and you clench them tight, praying no one sees. The ring feels like a shackle, pulling you into a life you didn't choose. You think of the stories your mother told, of honor and chivalry, but they feel like lies now. The truth is this cold stone floor, this stranger beside you, this crowd waiting to cheer a transaction. You're 12, and your childhood is over, buried under the weight of a vow you barely understand. The cathedral shadow stretches long, and you're caught in it, a small figure in a world that's already decided your fate. This isn't just your story. It's the story of countless girls across the sprawl of medieval Europe, from the foggy coasts of England to the sun-baked hills of Italy. Marriage wasn't about love or choice. It was a deal, a merger of power, land, and bloodlines. The church, the lords, the law, they all worked together, building a system where women weren't people, but assets, their worth measured in what they could bring to the table. A daughter was her father's best bargaining chip,
traded for fields, titles, or alliances. A wife was property, her rights swallowed whole the moment she said her vows. Her children? Just future chips to barter, pieces in a game of power that stretched across generations. The church preached it from the pulpit. Women were weak, tainted by Eve's sin, made to obey and bear sons. Doctors backed it up with dusty books, claiming your body was frail, your mind unfit for reason, your humors out of balance. The law sealed the deal. You couldn't own land, sign a contract, or speak in court without a man's permission. From the day you were born, you were groomed for one job, to be handed from your father's house to your husband, like a deed to a farm or a title to a castle. Marriage contracts were cold as stone, listing your dowry, land, gold, goods, along with your family's name and your health. They read like livestock sales, not love stories. Your value was in your silence, your obedience, your ability to carry on a man's name and legacy. You stand at the altar, the priest's Latin fading into a dull hum. The crowd's eyes bore into you, waiting for the ritual to move forward. You're not just a bride, you're a symbol of a deal well struck, a contract sealed with prayers and gold. The ring on your finger feels heavier with every passing second, a reminder of the life you're stepping into. You think of the girls before you, the ones whose names you'll never know, who stood in cathedrals of village churches, their futures signed away just like yours. This system wasn't built for you. It was built for the men who wrote the rules, who held the power, who saw you as a tool to secure their place in the world. The cathedral feels smaller now, the walls pressing in. As the crowd shifts, their whispers growing louder. You catch snippets, talk of land, of alliances, of what Lord Valerius gained by taking you. Your father's face flashes in your mind, his hand closing over the Lord's coin, his eyes avoiding yours. You were his daughter, but you were also his currency, and he spent you to secure his own future. The priest's voice rises, signaling the end of the vows, and the crowd leans forward, eager for the next step. You want to run, to slip through the cracks in the stone and disappear, but there's nowhere to go. The world outside is no kinder than the one in here. This is the weight of the world you were born into, a world where girls are raised to be silent, to bow their heads, to let their lives be shaped by others. You think of your mother, her hands rough from work, her eyes distant when she spoke of her own wedding day. She didn't tell you much, just enough to know it wasn't a day of joy. Now you understand why. The stories of knights and love were for children. The truth is this altar, this ring, this proud waiting to see a deal completed. You're 12, caught in a machine that's been grinding for centuries, and all you can do is stand still, your heart pounding, as the future closes in around you like a cage. In 1998, under the ancient stones of Canterbury Cathedral, workers stumbled on a secret that changed how we see the medieval world. Lifting a heavy flagstone for routine repairs, they found a hidden chamber, a time capsule sealed for over 500 years. Inside was a small wooden chest, its wood brittle with age, holding faded fabrics, a silver locket, and a leather-bound journal. The pages, filled with the tight, careful script of a priest named Father Thomas of Canterbury, were a voice from the past, written between 1340 and 1360, a time scarred by plague and upheaval. His words weren't meant for us, they were his private confession, a way to ease a conscience torn by the marriages he blessed. Father Thomas wasn't a rebel or a reformer.
He was a man of God, steeped in the church's teachings, believing in the sacraments he performed. But his journal tells a different story, a slow, creeping horror at the system he served. He wrote of girls as young as 8, dressed in gowns too big for their small frames, their eyes empty as they stood at the altar. He described a nobleman's daughter, her tiny hands swallowed by a heavy ring, carried to the altar because her legs buckled under the weight of her dress. He saw merchants' daughters traded for trade routes, farmers' girls swapped for a patch of land. Each time he spoke the holy words, his voice steady but his heart breaking a little more with every ceremony. The chamber also held marriage contracts, cold proof of his words. They weren't love letters, they were legal deeds, listing dowries, land transfers, even clauses about replacing a bride if she didn't deliver an heir. Father Thomas called it commerce, not matrimony, his pen shaking as he wrote of blessing deals that turned girls into shadows. He saw their spirits dim, trained to silence their thoughts, their wills crushed to fit a world that saw them as tools. "We yoke a master to a ghost," he wrote, his words a cry from a man trapped in a system he couldn't change. He described the crowds at these weddings, their cheers more about power than joy, their eyes fixed on the girls as if they were prizes, not people. Back at the altar, you feel the echo of Father Thomas's words. The crowd's gaze is heavy, their whispers a hum of expectation. The ring on your finger bites deeper, a reminder of the life you're stepping into. You think of those girls in his journal, their names lost but their stories carved into his pages. Like you, they stood in cold churches, their future signed away. You wonder if they felt this same knot in their chest, this same urge to run. The priest's voice fades, the vows done, and the crowd shifts, ready for the ritual's end. You're 12, caught in a machine that's been grinding for centuries, but Father Thomas's journal is proof that someone saw the truth even then. His words, hidden for half a millennium, are a spark in the dark, a reminder that even in a world of stone and fire, someone questioned, someone cared. You hold on to that thought as the cathedral doors creak open, the crowd spilling